Discrimination on race. We're going to close out this chapter talking about some of the final aspects of it, recognizing discrimination as a whole that needs to be part of the overall body of topics we talk about in employment law, recognizing discrimination. So the top 3 complaints that the EEOC receives, and if you're involved in administrative employment law, you need to know this. The number 1 is retaliation. It's the most common type of claim. It occurs when the employer takes adverse action because somebody was engaged in a legally protected activity. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes somebody sees somebody doing something inappropriate. They become all upset. You do an investigation. What they're upset about wasn't a violation of law. It wasn't necessarily illegal. It just wasn't very nice or pleasant, except it was within the bounds of the supervisor doing what they were supposed to do, or the employee. So that said, they filed a discrimination complaint, or maybe they participated in an investigation, and all of a sudden it was a whistleblower issue. This is the number 1 aspect of it, and in this class is just the beginning of your hopefully long-term career in applying employment law wherever you may go. Pay attention to this one. It's a big deal, and you need to pay attention because usually it's not the people administering the employment law that do this. Usually it's other people in the process, but regardless, that's number 1. Number 2 is disability discrimination. We thought that we'd solve all the problems by passing the Americans Disability Act. It didn't quite work out that way, but we have a lot of people that are pretty vocal about the fact that you have this issue and you haven't addressed it. What are you doing about that? We need to have reasonable accommodations, and if you don't have them, make it so we can. That's an issue. That's number 2. Number 3 is still here. It's race discrimination. When we passed the law in 1964, a lot of people dreamed and hoped that there would be a day when people would ignore the color of your skin and look upon the strength of your character. That said, I'd like to say we do, but the data shows that maybe not so much. Okay, so this is an issue that hopefully we can address, but we do address in employment law. If you're in charge of administering it, make certain that this doesn't happen on your watch, or if it does, you have corrective action on it as quickly as possible to make certain it's not carved into the very fabric of the organization that you're working with. Sometimes discrimination is very subtle. Okay, so here you have Bradley versus really Domino's Pizza. They had a no beards policy. Well, they felt it had a diverse impact on African American men because more of them have beards than other men, especially white men. Now, I'm not certain that today that those numbers are still in the same ratio, but I do have to tell you 2 things. Number 1, I have a beard, so maybe I'm partial to beards. Okay, the other one is I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't want your beard hair on my pizza. Okay, so there could be an actual aspect of it. If you have a beard, you probably have to wear an actual little scarf to cover your beard to make certain that it stays where it's supposed to stay. Hairstyle issue. Basically, it's called Crown Acts. It's a prohibition on discrimination based on natural hair. If somebody has hair and everything on top of their head, in my opinion, more power to them. I'd rather have hair than not have hair. But that said, some people don't like different hairstyles, and that's an issue. And that could be recognized as discrimination. Linguistic discrimination, sounding different, reduced frequency of call returns and so on. I don't know if that's true, but having different accents, whatever that is, it really is out there. We have a lot of call centers, not just in our country, but across the entire planet Earth today. So we need to sit down and pay attention and give people leeway in the process, but also make certain that they're clear in the process of executing their job. Prima facie case elements, the racial harassment, the conduct is unwelcome. Any comments based upon race that shouldn't exist. These kind of comments, when it comes down to it, pay attention to what's out there. And you can have an incident, but if you have a continuation of it, it's so severe and pervasive. In other words, it really fills the workplace. Then you have a condition of employment. Here is the rule. If you're administering employment law, everybody that comes into work should feel safe and secure and not have people making commentary about them or slandering them in front of their face or behind their back. It's kind of simple. It's called being nice. Okay, you have to put up with somebody all the time in the process. So make certain that you don't have a culture that's severe and pervasive that alters the work so that people dread coming into work. So there's a basis for imposing liability on the employer. And if you have that type of an atmosphere, it will be a liability someday, no matter what. Color discrimination. What's nice is it doesn't define color. There's no actual meter of this is dark and this is darker and this is darker. So you have all that. They left it open because of the fact that sometimes you'll have discrimination based upon if it's light brown, dark brown, black, whatever the color may be. And there's even people of the same race sometimes that engage in color discrimination. So EEOC has dealt with complaints on that. And so you have James. Light-complected African-American. He worked as a waiter. His manager, also, he made fun about James' skin color. It was darker, and James dreaded coming to work because his boss, who was the same race, would make fun of him. Okay, so that with all that, I mean, come on. But they both must have experienced racial discrimination sometime in their life. This is a case of, why would that even happen? It does. Because people are people, they're human beings, and we have flaws from birth till death, no matter what happens. But in the workplace, that should not take place. Here, Melanie, really a brown-complected Latina. She works as a sales clerk for a major department store. She applied for a promotion, but the employer denied her that because the vendor preferred a light-skinned representative. Seriously, they actually said that out loud? Oh my gosh. Whatever they got, they deserved in the process. That shouldn't be taking place. You don't make public stances that I'm prejudiced because of your skin color. That is not what the employment law is about. Title VII prohibits discrimination on race and color. It may intersect also with national origin discrimination. We went to a restaurant and the owner was one part of the Middle East. And we went to dinner with some friends of ours that were also part of the Middle East. And later on, she told us about those people and how bad they were. And she never knew them. She just knew they were from a different country in the Middle East. So she was slandering the other country. Actually, they were our friends and we didn't really care what her thoughts was. We stopped going to the restaurant. We don't like discrimination because of the fact that we should feel free to sit down and enjoy a world without discrimination. And when it's there, we speak out against it and we actually take action against it as well. So in that case, it's a matter of, really, you're going to pick on our friends? No. Employers must ensure every employee has equal opportunity for employment and advancement regardless of race, color, or national origin. It still exists today. The employment law, if you're in charge of administering it, make certain that you're paying attention to these sections over here. You have to be vigilant against the more stubborn, subtle manifestations of race discrimination. It's out there. Don't ignore it. It's real. So whenever you can, pay attention to it. Look as to what a bona fide occupational qualification is. Be careful about using them because if it's based upon race, you might have a problem with that. Pay attention to that aspect as well. A lot of times, believe that race discrimination occurs and be willing to investigate it when it's alleged. There is a top-down message in the workplace not to tolerate race discrimination. When we talk about ethics in the world of business, ethics doesn't go bottom up. If you come in at the lowest level, you're not going to change that culture very much. You might have an impact on the workers you work with, but truly, it's top down. Your chief executive officers, your chief staff, the chief human resource officer, chief business officer, chief marketing officer, they're the ones that set the tone as to what that organization is and what it does. It is top down. And if you're in an organization where discrimination is rampant, you probably have issues from the top down as well. Don't avoid discussing race when the issue rises. Just be open about it. Say, okay, let's talk about this and have that dialogue. Sometimes people become really offended at it, but if you don't talk about it, you'll never accomplish anything at all in the process. Beware of cultural difference that's out there. If somebody says something about discrimination, listen and act if needed. Provide training and sensitivity. Courts look more favorably on employers that have the training and how extensive they could be. Monetary events, hiring. Color is one of the top 3 forms of discrimination. Discrimination can be subtle, sometimes unknowing, but hopefully in the background they understand that it's wrong. Ethics and attitudes are always top down. Make certain that your company has a good, solid philosophy and knows where it's going on the aspect of discrimination. It doesn't belong in the workplace. Take care.